The bedroom door slams shut and the lock clicks. I freeze as Calvin Dorsey steps into the room. My hands shake as I pull the blanket closer. He promised to protect me after Mom and Dad died in that car crash 3 years ago. He became my guardian when I was only 8 years old. Now I'm 11, and the man I trusted is standing in my doorway with eyes that make my stomach twist. When I beg him to leave, he grabs my arm hard. The pressure sends pain shooting up to my shoulder. He shoves me back onto the bed. My head hits the pillow and tears fill my eyes. The pain in my arm is nothing compared to the pain in my heart. The man who promised to protect me has just become the one hurting me. That night I learned trust can be destroyed in seconds. Everything I believed about safety disappears. I want to scream for my parents, but they're gone forever. Calvin walks out without saying a word. I curl into a ball and cry silently until morning comes. The darkness feels endless and suffocating. The next morning Calvin cooks pancakes like nothing happened. He hums a cheerful tune while flipping them in the pan. The smell makes me sick to my stomach. My cheek is swollen from the slap I received last night, but I hide it behind my hair. Neighbors knock on the door and Calvin answers with a bright smile. They call him a hero for taking in 2 orphans after the accident. Mrs. Patterson from next door brings cookies and tells Calvin he's doing God's work. He laughs and accepts the praise graciously. My younger brother Miles runs outside to play, completely unaware of what happened. I watch Calvin from the kitchen table. He catches my eye and smiles. It's a warning smile that makes my blood run cold. When the neighbors finally leave, I return to my room quietly. That's when I noticed something new on the wall. A small camera sits near the ceiling, its red light blinking steadily. My blood runs cold and my heart starts racing. He's watching me even when he's not here. I pull my knees to my chest and realize there's nowhere safe anymore in this house. One night 2 weeks later, Calvin comes into my room again. This time I push him away and tell him to stop. His face changes instantly. The friendly mask disappears and something dark takes over his features. He strikes me so hard I fall against the dresser. My shoulder hits the corner and pain explodes through my body. I bite my lip to keep from crying out loud. Miles is sleeping in the next room and I can't let him know what's happening. Calvin leans down close to my face. His breath smells like coffee and anger. He whispers words that will haunt me forever and ever. No one will ever believe you. Then he walks out and closes the door softly behind him. I slide down to the floor and touch my shoulder gently. A bruise is already forming under my skin. The next day at school I wear a long-sleeved shirt even though it's hot outside. When my teacher asks if I'm okay, I nod and smile weakly. The lie tastes bitter in my mouth. I begin hiding bruises under long sleeves, long pants, and fake smiles that hurt my face. Another night I try to run toward the door when I hear his footsteps approaching. Calvin grabs my arm and throws me against the wall hard. My lip splits open and blood drips onto my shirt. I taste copper and fear mixing in my mouth. He doesn't even look angry anymore. His face is calm, almost bored with the whole situation. Then he mentions something that makes my heart stop completely. He talks about Miles' school and the route he walks every morning to get there. He describes the exact path my brother takes through the park. The thread is clear without him saying it directly to me. If I fight back, Miles will pay the price for my resistance. I realize resisting will only make things worse for the people I love most. So I stop fighting back. I stop pushing him away. I become a statue, frozen and silent in my suffering. That night I learned a new kind of pain that cuts deeper. It's not the bruises or the cuts on my skin. It's the feeling of being completely powerless in this situation. After he leaves, I wash the blood from my lip and stare at myself in the mirror blankly. The girl looking back is a stranger I don't recognize anymore. After another beating, I lie in bed crying silently so Miles won't hear through the thin walls. My ribs ache from where Calvin kicked me earlier that evening. I whisper to my parents as if they can hear me somewhere beyond the stars above. Why did you leave me here? I ask the darkness surrounding me. Why did you choose him to raise us? There's no answer, just the sound of the wind outside whistling. I remember Mom's laugh and Dad's strong hugs that made me feel safe. They would never have let this happen to me. But they're gone and I'm stuck with a monster wearing a hero's mask every day. At school the next day, my gym teacher notices me wincing during stretches and exercises. She pulls me aside and asks if everything is okay at home with concern. For a moment I almost tell her everything that's been happening. The words sit on my tongue ready to spill out like water. But then I see Calvin's car in the parking lot outside. He's early to pick us up today. Someone finally begins to notice my pain, but I'm too afraid to let them help me escape this nightmare. Counselor Avery Cole calls me into her office one afternoon after lunch period. She's young with kind eyes and a gentle voice that sounds trustworthy. She notices my trembling hands when I hold the pencil during our conversation. She sees the fading bruises on my wrists that I thought were hidden well. When she gently asks if someone hurt me, I almost break down right there in front of her. My throat tightens and tears blur my vision completely. I want to scream yes, tell her everything, beg her to save me from this hell. But then I see movement outside the window behind her desk. Calvin is standing there watching us with his arms crossed. He shouldn't be here yet at this time. School doesn't end for another hour or more. But there he is, leaning against his car with a knowing expression. He smiles when our eyes meet across the distance. It's a reminder that he still controls my life completely. I turn back to Ms. Cole and force myself to lie convincingly. I'm fine, I whisper quietly. Just clumsy, that's all. She doesn't believe me at all. I can see it in her eyes clearly. But without proof, there's nothing she can do to help. I leave her office feeling even more alone than before this conversation started. After another violent outburst where Calvin threw me to the floor because I came home 5 minutes late from school, I ran away. I don't think, I just move as fast as possible. My feet carry me out the back door and into the woods behind the house quickly. Branches scratch my face and arms as I push through the darkness blindly. I hide behind a large oak tree, shaking and crying uncontrollably. The night air is cold against my skin and I'm not dressed warmly. For the first time I consider running away forever and never coming back. I could disappear into these woods and never come back to this house. Maybe find a new town, a new life, somewhere Calvin can't hurt me anymore or find me. But then I remember Miles still inside the house all alone. Sweet, innocent Miles who loves Calvin because he doesn't know the truth about him. If I run, what happens to him in my absence? Will Calvin hurt him too when I'm gone? Or will Miles think I abandoned him like our parents did when they died? I can't leave him alone with that monster who pretends to care. So I wipe my tears, take a deep breath, and walk back to the house reluctantly. Calvin is waiting on the porch for my return. He doesn't say anything, just points to my room with one finger extended. At school, Landon Price notices me wincing when I lift my backpack onto my shoulder carefully. He's a quiet boy who sits in the back of class and doesn't talk much to anyone. But he sees things other people miss or ignore completely. He sees the bruise on my arm when my sleeve rides up accidentally. Instead of ignoring it like everyone else does, he follows me after school ends. He finds me sitting alone behind the library reading quietly. Without saying anything at first, he slowly pulls an old phone from his pocket. It's scratched and the screen is cracked badly, but it works fine. He hands it to me and whispers carefully, "If you ever need help, call someone with this." Then he walks away before I can thank him properly. It's the first time someone has tried to help me in any way. That night I hid the phone in a hole I carved into my mattress secretly. It becomes my secret lifeline to the outside world. Sometimes I just hold it and imagine calling for help from someone. But I never actually use it. The fear of what Calvin might do to Miles keeps my fingers frozen in place. Still, knowing I have it makes me feel a little less alone in the darkness that surrounds me every single day. On Sunday morning, Calvin takes us to church like we do every week. He wears his best suit and smiles at everyone we pass. The pastor announces that Calvin will receive an award for helping children in need throughout the community. The entire congregation applauds loudly for him. They stand and clap for the man who beat me last night without mercy. The same hands that left bruises on my arms are now being praised by the entire town gathered here. I sit in the pew and feel anger rising inside me for the first time ever. It burns hotter than fear has ever burned before. How can they not see what he really is underneath? How can they call him a hero when he's a monster in disguise? But I know the answer to these questions already. Calvin is careful about his image. He only shows his true face when no one else is watching him closely. After the service, people shake his hand and pat him on the back warmly. A woman tells me how lucky I am to have him as my guardian. I smile and nod because that's what's expected of me in this situation. But inside I'm screaming as loud as I possibly can. That night I made a decision that changed everything. The truth must come out someday somehow. Somehow, I'll find a way to expose him to the world. Late at night when Calvin is asleep in his room, I sneak into his office quietly. My heart pounds so loud I'm sure he'll hear it through the walls. I search through his files and papers looking for anything that might help me escape. That's when I find old newspaper clippings stored in a drawer. They're from different towns, different years in the past. Each article mentions Calvin Dorsey by name. I read about abuse investigations that were opened and then mysteriously closed without explanation. A pattern emerges clearly before my eyes. He lived in Kansas, then Oklahoma, then Texas before coming here to Louisiana finally. In each place, someone accused him of hurting children under his care. But the cases always disappeared without any resolution. I discovered he's been doing this for years, maybe decades even. My hands shake as I realize I'm not his first victim at all. There were others before me who suffered the same way. One name appears repeatedly in the old documents I'm reading. Naomi Cross. She filed a report against Calvin 12 years ago when she was just 13 years old. But the case vanished without explanation or justice. I write down her name carefully and hide it with the phone Landon gave me. If Naomi is still alive somewhere, maybe she can help me fight back against Calvin finally. Finding Naomi takes weeks of careful searching on Landon's phone during lunch breaks at school every day. I finally discover she lives 2 towns away and works at a diner serving food. My hands shake as I read her social media profile carefully. She's alive and well. The girl who tried to stop Calvin years ago survived somehow. I want to reach out immediately, but fear holds me back from acting. What if she doesn't remember what happened to her? What if she doesn't believe my story at all? What if contacting her puts her in danger from Calvin? But then Calvin comes into my room again one night without warning. The beating is worse than usual this time. He's angry because a neighbor asked too many questions about the bruise on my neck that's visible. When he finally leaves, I make my decision with certainty. I have to contact Naomi no matter what. She's the only person who might understand what I'm going through right now. The next day I sent her a message from Landon's phone carefully. I keep it simple and direct. My name is Elena Brooks. Calvin Dorsey is my guardian. I need help desperately. I hit send and pray she responds to me. 2 days pass with nothing at all. Then finally, a reply appears on the screen. Call me. Now. Please don't wait. When I call Naomi using Landon's phone, she answers on the first ring immediately. Her voice is older than I expected but familiar somehow to me. When I tell her Calvin has been hurting me, she begins crying on the other end. The sound breaks my heart into pieces. You're not the first, she says through tears that I can hear. And I'm so sorry I couldn't stop him back then. For the first time I realized the beatings, the threats, the fear, it all happened to someone else too before me. I'm not crazy or imagining things. I'm not making it up for attention. Naomi understands because she lived through the same nightmare I'm living. She tells me about the nights she spent hiding from Calvin in terror. The bruises she covered with makeup to hide them. The lies she told to protect herself from more harm. Her story mirrors mine in every horrible detail imaginable. How did you escape? I ask her desperately. She's quiet for a long moment before answering. I didn't, she finally says with sadness. He moved away before anyone believed me or helped. I've been carrying this guilt ever since that day. She reveals that Calvin has been doing this for decades to children. Moving from town to town whenever suspicion grows too strong. He finds vulnerable children, hurts them repeatedly, and disappears before facing consequences for his actions. Naomi's voice hardens with determination. We have to stop him this time. We can't let him hurt anyone else after you. Naomi explains Calvin's pattern over the phone in detail. He targets orphans or children in foster care because they're easier to control and manipulate. He builds a reputation as a helpful guardian while hurting them in private where no one can see. When investigators get too close to the truth, someone powerful makes the cases disappear completely. Then Calvin moves to a new town and starts again with fresh victims. I ask how he gets away with it every single time. He has friends in high places, Naomi says bitterly with anger. People who owe him favors or benefit from his silence about their own crimes. She mentions a judge in Oklahoma who dismissed her case without proper investigation. A police chief in Kansas who never filed charges despite evidence. A social worker in Texas who destroyed evidence to protect Calvin from prosecution. Calvin has been building his network of protection for years and years. I realize I was never special to him, just another victim in a long line of broken children he's destroyed. The thought makes me sick but also angry at the same time. How many others were there before me? How many children did he hurt while good people looked away and did nothing? Naomi's voice breaks through my thoughts suddenly. Someone powerful protected him before, she warns me seriously. They might try again this time too. We need to be careful and smart about this. Naomi tells me about District Attorney Franklin Hayes over the phone. He's the man who shut down her case 12 years ago without explanation. Back then he was just a prosecutor, but now he runs the entire county justice system with power. Calvin has something on him, Naomi explains carefully. I don't know what exactly, but it's enough to keep Hayes quiet and cooperative. I ask how we can possibly win against someone so powerful and connected. The district attorney controls the police, the courts, everything in this county. If he wants to protect Calvin from justice, how can 2 kids and a traumatized woman stop them successfully? We find proof so strong they can't ignore it, Naomi says with determination. But her voice wavers with doubt and uncertainty. I begin to understand how deeply Calvin's lies run through this community. This isn't just about one bad man hurting children. It's a whole system protecting him from consequences. That night I almost gave up on everything completely. The fear is overwhelming and paralyzing. What if we fail and make things worse? What if Calvin finds out and hurts Miles? But then I hear Miles laughing in the next room, unaware of the danger he's in every day. I can't let Calvin hurt him too like he hurt me. Fear nearly makes me give up entirely, but love keeps me fighting for justice and safety. One night Calvin beats me so badly I collapse on the floor unable to stand up. My vision blurs and pain radiates through my entire body like fire. He kicks my ribs one more time before leaving the room without another word. I lie there for what feels like hours before I can finally crawl to the bathroom slowly. As I look at my reflection in the mirror, something changes inside me fundamentally. My face is swollen and bruised beyond recognition. Blood drips from my split lip onto the sink. Dark marks cover my arms and legs everywhere. But my eyes are different now than before. They're not filled with fear anymore like they used to be. They're filled with rage and determination instead. I realize if I stay silent, Calvin will keep hurting children forever and ever. After me there will be another Elena, another Naomi, another victim who suffers because I was too scared to speak up. The thought makes me sick to my stomach. I wash the blood from my face and make a promise to myself right there. This ends now, no matter what. I decide to stop him no matter what it costs me personally. The next day I contact Naomi and tell her I'm ready to fight. Ready for what? She asks cautiously. Ready to fight back and expose him, I say firmly with confidence I didn't know I had inside me. Naomi secretly meets me and Landon at an old park on the edge of town far from Calvin's house. She arrives in a worn blue car and hugs me the moment she sees me standing there. Her eyes fill with tears when she notices the fresh bruises on my neck clearly visible. I'm so sorry this happened to you, she whispers with emotion. I should have tried harder to stop him years ago. But I shake my head firmly. This isn't her fault at all. We sit on a bench under a large tree and I tell my story out loud for the first time ever. Every beating, every threat, every moment of terror I've experienced. Landon listens quietly while Naomi holds my hand tightly. Instead of feeling shame like I expected, I feel strength growing inside me with each word. Speaking the truth makes it real and valid. It validates what I've been through all these years. When I finish, Naomi reaches into her bag slowly. I kept something important, she says carefully. Evidence Calvin thought was destroyed long ago. She reveals she still has a hidden flash drive containing recordings from her time with Calvin years ago. She secretly recorded him when she realized no one would believe her words alone without proof. The evidence proves years of crimes against multiple children he hurt. My heart races with hope for the first time in months. Now we need him to confess to hurting you specifically, Naomi says seriously. On record. Undeniable and clear. Naomi retrieves the flash drive from a safety deposit box at a bank 2 towns over the next day. We meet again and she shows me the files stored on it. There are audio recordings of Calvin threatening her in explicit detail. Video footage she captured on a hidden camera years ago. Documents proving he's used fake names in other states to avoid detection. The evidence is devastating and damning. But Naomi warns me it might not be enough alone. Hayes buried this before, she says with frustration. He could do it again unless we have something new and recent. We realize we need Calvin to confess to hurting me specifically and recently. Something current that Hayes can't explain away as ancient history that doesn't matter. Landon suggests I wear a wire and record Calvin admitting what he's done to me. The idea terrifies me completely. Getting that close to Calvin, provoking him to talk about his crimes. It could go horribly wrong in so many ways. But I don't see another option available to us. We need his voice saying the words clearly. We need proof so clear that even Hayes can't make it disappear this time. We spend the next week planning every detail carefully. Naomi teaches me how to use the recording device properly. Landon helps me prepare questions that will make Calvin reveal the truth without suspecting. They must get Calvin to confess everything on tape without him realizing what's happening until it's too late. The night of the confrontation arrives too quickly. I hide the tiny recording device in my pocket and take a deep breath to calm myself. My hands shake as I walk into the house where Calvin is waiting. Calvin is sitting in the living room watching television like normal. Miles is at a friend's house for a sleepover tonight, which is perfect for what I need to do. I need Calvin alone without witnesses. I sit down across from him and ask a question I've never dared ask before now. Why did you hurt me all these years? His head turns slowly toward me. He studies my face carefully, looking for a trap or trick. I keep my expression neutral even though my heart is pounding hard. What are you talking about, Elena? He asks carefully with suspicion. I push harder despite my fear. You know exactly what I mean, Calvin. The beatings. The threats against Miles. Why me specifically? For a moment I think he'll deny everything and throw me out. But then something shifts in his eyes that I recognize. Maybe he's tired of pretending to be good. Maybe he thinks I'm too broken to be a threat to him. Whatever the reason, he starts talking freely. Because I could, he says simply without emotion. Because no one would believe a damaged little orphan over a respected community member like me. His words are cold and clinical and heartless. He's done this so many times it doesn't even affect him anymore at all. Calvin begins bragging about fooling everyone for years without getting caught once. He talks about all the investigators he's outsmarted with lies. He mentions all the children he's hurt without consequence or punishment. Your parents were idiots for trusting me with you, he laughs cruelly. The cruelty of his words hits me like a physical blow to the stomach. He even mocks them for dying in that accident 3 years ago. Best thing that ever happened to me, he says with a smile. Give me 2 fresh victims to play with. The anger inside me burns so hot I can barely breathe properly. But I force myself to stay calm and collected. I need him to keep talking and confessing. I ask how he got away with it for so long without anyone stopping him. He leans back in his chair, proud of himself and his accomplishments. Hayes owes me big time, Calvin explains with satisfaction. I know about his dirty secrets he wants hidden. The bribes he took from criminals. The evidence he destroyed for other criminals who paid him well. He keeps me safe and I keep my mouth shut about what I know. He describes the system of protection he built over decades carefully. The officials who look the other way when complaints come in. The social workers who ignore reports about him. You're not special, Elena, he sneers at me with contempt. You're just another broken toy I got bored with. The cruelty fills me with anger instead of fear this time. His confession is being recorded on the device hidden in my pocket. Every word. Every horrible admission of guilt. Everything he's saying will destroy him soon. When Calvin realizes I'm recording him, his face goes dark with rage instantly. He lunges across the room faster than I expect him to move. I jump up and run for the front door as fast as possible. My fingers grab the handle just as his hand closes around my arm tightly. He yanks me back hard and I scream. I twist away violently, leaving him holding just my sleeve in his hand. Then I'm running into the street while he chases me through the night air. My lungs burn and my legs feel like they might give out any second now. But fear pushes me forward faster than I've ever run before. I can hear his footsteps behind me getting closer and closer. He's faster and stronger than me. But I know these streets better than he does. I cut through Mrs. Patterson's yard and jumped her fence quickly. Calvin crashes through behind me cursing loudly and angrily. I see the police station lights ahead just 2 more blocks away. My chest feels like it might explode but I don't slow down at all. Calvin's hand grazes my shoulder but I duck and keep running desperately. The police station gets closer with every step. 1 block. Half a block. I can see officers standing outside talking. I scream for help as loud as I can possibly scream. They turn and see me running with a man chasing me aggressively. Everything happens fast after that moment. Officers run toward us and Calvin stops suddenly. He tries to turn and run away but they're already surrounding him completely. I burst into the police station shaking so badly I can barely stand upright. Words tumble out of my mouth in a desperate rush of explanation. The officers try to calm me down but I just keep talking frantically. Finally I remember the recording device and pull it from my pocket with trembling hands. Listen to this right now, I beg them desperately. They take me to a small room and play the recording carefully. I watch their faces as they hear Calvin's confession word by word. First there's confusion on their faces, then shock, then pure anger. The lead officer's jaw clenches when Calvin brags about hurting children for decades without punishment. When the recording mentions District Attorney Hayes by name, the room goes completely silent. An older detective picks up the phone and makes a call immediately. Within an hour, state police arrive from the capital city. They explain that allegations against Hayes require outside investigation by authorities. They listen to the recording again and their faces turn pale with shock. One of them asks if I have any other evidence besides this recording. I tell them about Naomi and the flash drive she's been keeping safe. They contact her immediately and she agrees to come in. Calvin's lies are finally collapsing around him like a house of cards. The truth is too big to hide anymore from everyone. Even Hayes can't make this disappear this time. I sit in that police station and feel something I haven't felt in years and years. Hope. Real, genuine hope that justice might actually happen. Police surround Calvin's house within an hour of my statement. They arrest him on the front lawn while neighbors watch in complete shock. Mrs. Patterson stands on her porch with her hand over her mouth in disbelief. The man she called a hero is being put in handcuffs for everyone to see. Officers search the house thoroughly and discover hidden evidence Calvin kept as trophies of his crimes. Photographs of previous victims he hurt over the years. Documents with fake names he used in other states. The camera system he used to watch me constantly. Everything that proves years of abuse against children. When they find the recordings on his computer, several officers have to step outside to compose themselves. The evidence is overwhelming and horrifying to witness. More survivors come forward over the next few days after seeing the news. Women who were hurt by Calvin decades ago and thought no one would believe them if they spoke. Naomi's testimony gives them courage to finally speak up. Each story adds to the mountain of proof against him that keeps growing. The investigation expands to include District Attorney Hayes and his corruption. Federal agents raid his office and find evidence of corruption going back 20 years or more. Calvin's network of protection crumbles piece by piece rapidly. The man who controlled my life for 3 terrible years is finally powerless and broken. He sits in a jail cell while the world learns the truth about who he really is underneath the mask. The trial begins 6 months later in a crowded courtroom. Calvin tries to deny everything at first through his lawyer. His lawyer claims the recording was edited or taken out of context unfairly. But then Naomi takes the stand as the first witness. She speaks clearly and calmly about what Calvin did to her 12 years ago in detail. She shows the court her evidence. The recordings she kept hidden all this time carefully. The jury listens with horrified faces that can't hide their disgust. Other survivors testify next, one after another. Each one adds another piece to the puzzle of Calvin's crimes. The pattern becomes undeniable to everyone watching. Calvin's lawyer argues there's no physical evidence for the recent crimes against me. The bruises have healed and I never went to a hospital for treatment. But the recording is damning beyond belief. His own words convict him completely. When it's my turn to testify, I'm terrified beyond words. My legs shake as I walk to the witness stand slowly. Calvin stares at me from the defense table with hatred. His eyes are cold and hateful and threatening. For a moment I'm 11 years old again, frozen with fear of him. But then I remember why I'm here in this courtroom. This isn't just about me anymore at all. It's about every child he hurt and every child he might hurt in the future if we don't stop him now. I raise my right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Then I begin speaking clearly. Looking directly at Calvin without flinching, I tell the court everything that happened to me. I describe the first night he hurt me when I was just 11 years old and trusted him. The beatings that followed week after week, month after month. The threats against Miles that kept me silent for so long. I don't look away even when tears stream down my face freely. My voice shakes but I refuse to stop talking or give up. I explain how he used his reputation as protection from suspicion. How everyone trusted him while he destroyed me in private where no one could see. The courtroom is completely silent except for my voice telling the truth. Some jury members are crying as they listen to my testimony. Calvin's face stays blank but his hands grip the table until his knuckles turn white with tension. His lawyer tries to interrupt several times but the judge waves him away firmly. When I finish my testimony, the prosecutor asks one final question. Elena, why did you finally come forward after all this time? I take a deep breath and look at the jury directly. Because I realized staying silent meant he would keep hurting children forever and ever. I couldn't live with that on my conscience. The prosecutor nods and thanks me for my bravery. As I walk back to my seat, I feel lighter somehow than I've felt in years. The truth is finally out there for everyone to hear. Calvin can't hide anymore behind his mask of respectability. Whatever happens next, at least people know what he really is underneath. The jury takes only 3 hours to reach a verdict after deliberation. Guilty on all counts without exception. Calvin shows no emotion as the judge reads the sentence aloud. 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole ever. District Attorney Hayes receives 15 years for corruption and obstruction of justice charges. As they take Calvin away in handcuffs, he looks at me one last time across the courtroom. But I'm not afraid anymore of him or anyone. He's just a broken old man who hurt children because he could get away with it. Now he'll spend the rest of his life in a cell paying for his crimes. Miles and I are placed with a foster family who actually cares about us genuinely. They're patient and kind and understanding. It takes time to heal from trauma, but slowly I start to feel safe again in my own skin. Years later, I'm standing on a stage at a conference for abuse survivors sharing my story. I share my story with hundreds of people who understand what I went through personally. Some are crying as they listen. Some are nodding in recognition. All of them are survivors too who know this pain. After my speech, a young girl approaches me nervously. She has the same haunted look I used to see in my mirror every day. "How did you find the courage to speak up?" she asks me quietly. I smile warmly and take her hand in mine. By realizing my voice mattered and could make a difference. And so does yours. You are not alone. And for the first time in my entire life, I feel completely and utterly free from the darkness.